Welcome to the Within Crisis podcast, where we discuss our history with video games, as well as this episode, our love for Final Fantasy XIV. Pop over so you can see all our lovely co-hosts. I am Flynn Lawlight, usually found over on the Zodiac server of 14. Just below me is Ash, a fellow Free Company member. To the top right, you got Chris Montoya, also known as Tarkoth Gaming. All the funny faces. Below him, Mike Byrne, Mr. Magickmann1. Since Tark is making me laugh, the hardest Tark, go now to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Tarkoth. I play Final Fantasy XIV. I just downloaded the game 2 days ago, so I'm still just starting. I'm just barely got to the level 15 dungeon.
That's stupid.
Oh. Yeah, I'm dumb. No, I've been playing since technically 1.0, although that only lasted like a month because it was so bad. But I have, since 2.0 launched, I have been subscribed nonstop, and I love the game and can't wait to talk about it.
Mr. Byrne?
Flynn, you English. Oh, am I allowed to swear?
I'm Welsh, for a start.
Welsh. My apologies. My apologies.
Aye.
Oh, yeah. Are we allowed to swear?
Yeah,
Like,
go nuts.
He found that more offensive than the swearing.
Fair enough. You Welsh bastard. It's nice to finally meet you. Love you. Thank you for supporting all the stuff we do. It's good to be here. Yeah, Final Fantasy XIV. Well, yeah, I was 1.0. I actually played longer than a month because, yeah, I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess. We did beta, we did 1.0 all the way through to shutdown, and then rolled into 2.0, into alphas, into betas, and here we are today, still playing the damn thing. Still playing.
So you're Legacy?
I am not Legacy, so interestingly, stupidly, I shut my account down a couple of months prior to the ending, and missed the Legacy date by like 13 days or 14 days when I went back to look at it. It sucked. Yeah, so no, I'm not technically Legacy, but I'm old school. Let's call it that, I guess.
Right, Ash, over to you.
My name's Ash. I'm one of the fellow FC members of Paul's FC. I did join during 1.0. I lasted about maybe a day, if that. Not because the game was awful. It was what I could play of it, because my computer just could not play 1.0. So I bought the game full price, couldn't play it. Disappointment. I think it was around 2017 then I joined back up again, and yeah, I've been playing ever since.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
I know you couldn't play, but when you were standing still, those barrels looked pretty sweet, didn't they? Come on.
It was sufficient spot just outside Limsa. I think I managed just about to pull off some fishing, and that was probably the most memorable part of 1.0 that I can remember. And it was lovely.
So yeah, onto myself. Again, I did play some 1.0, mainly because Ash was like, do you know they released another MMO for Final Fantasy? Did they? Yeah. It's kind of like £2 on Amazon. Fine, I'll give it a go. PC can't run it. I did chuck like 50 odd hours, and I was just spent not understanding how the game worked, punching sheep in Limsa and fishing in the connection between the city and Middle of Notia. That was my 1.0 experience. 2.0 I got in around... Circus Tower was new. So that's the point I got in. Rogued in Dragoon at that point.
6.3. Or, I'm sorry, 2.3.
6.3? Wow.
there's a patch that just released today. It's on my mind. Okay.
Yeah, good old 6.1. But yeah, that's our history with 14. But this show isn't just about that. Let's start with you, Ash. What is your history with gaming in general?
Well, like I'm 31, so like most 31-year-olds, my gaming started back around the 10 years of age mark when Pokemon was all the rage. So yeah, my first kind of experience, my first game console was the original Game Boy. So that was kind of my introduction. So it was kind of that RPG element, and it's kind of stuck with that ever since. I have friends who play kind of first-person shooters, and it just never appealed to me. I've tried playing other games, but RPGs have always been my thing. So yeah, I think the really odd one to start with. The first Final Fantasy game I picked up was Final Fantasy X Part 2. So played it, completed it. Didn't make any sense from the fact that Final Fantasy X.
I was gonna say that's a weird one to jump into.
It was.
I would just by the title, I'd be like 10-2. Wait, what? This is the second part of a 10? I don't get it.
Could you imagine being your first experience in Final Fantasy is the Yuna Riku Pain music video scene that starts that game? What is this?
But you have to admit, Riku's hook punch sold it.
No, you gotta think when 10.2 came out, I was 13, so I had the game given to me. I couldn't really afford to get games at the time, and I think I was smitten for Riku clearly when I was 13 years of age.
Yeah,
so
it was the girls.
Oh, of course,
you got 3 girls in your party. You're like, hey.
So yeah, so 10.2, really odd one to start with, but yeah, Final Fantasy 10, and of course after that, and 7 then, because it's obviously the most iconic one that anyone I talked to who was into Final Fantasy, and because I was a beginner and I just kind of got into that world, they all mentioned 7. I know some people might see it as kind of the overrated, but for good reason, I guess. But yeah, that's pretty much my introduction. I've kind of stuck to it ever since.
All right, Mr. Byrne, let's head over to you.
31, bunch of babies on this show, bunch of babies.
Yep.
Bunch of babies.
Again, I'm old man plus 1.
Yeah, that's why I take you everywhere. Like I just keep bringing Tark with me. I'm not the oldest one.
I'm done with this podcast. I'm out of here. No, I'm just kidding.
You're only as young as the people you podcast with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, gaming-wise, my dad had an original Pong system. Obviously, that's before my time, but so I'm 41. So he had an original Pong system. He had an Atari 2600. He had a Commodore 64. So that was like my genesis in gaming, was those 3 things. But obviously those were when I was in the mid 80s, like wanting to play video games and stuff like that. Those technologies were already past, right? Like the North American game market crash had already happened back in '83. I was born in '81, so these were things of the past, but I liked messing around with them, getting Dad to pull those out. The first console that I had on, while it was still in stores, was the NES, and it wasn't even mine. It was a gift from my grandmother to my mother for her birthday, and then that was it. I was just hooked, absolutely hooked. Zelda with my dad, Mario with my dad. We'd turn the volume down, put on his LPs of various music and stuff, and it was just a blast. On the final, and I've been a collector ever since. I still have all of the systems. There's like 40 video game systems or so in this house right now. And with Final Fantasy, it's ironic. It's Final Fantasy II in North America. Final Fantasy IV in the series was my first delving into not just Final Fantasy, but RPGs in general. Now, I had dabbled in one here and there. I dabbled in Dragon Warrior here on the NES too, but never sunk any time in them. Final Fantasy II, quote, quote, was the one that got me renting that from Far More Entertainment That was think Walgreens or Rite Aid opening up a rental place to try and compete with Blockbuster at the time, and you have an idea of what far more entertainment was. But yeah, repeatedly renting Final Fantasy IV over and over and over again so that nobody else could get it and erase my save file. That was the first one, and I'm hooked ever since. Ever since.
Nice. Just to add on to this, with the gaming aspect of this, it doesn't just have to be video games, because I know you are a massive TCG player as well. How about you streaming the TCGs and any tabletop or anything like that?
Well, obviously, I did Magic the Gathering when it came out, because you guys are babies. I was like 12, 13, 14 when Magic the Gathering came out. I still have alpha, beta, and unlimited and revised cards in the house here. I kind of fell out of that at like 18, 19, and then really didn't pick up TCGs again until my boys became like 13, 14, 15 years old and started getting back into Magic. And so I taught them, all that stuff. And now Final Fantasy trading card game has absolutely just taken over my TCG life. And then we'll put a Ready Check Radio board game shelfie up sometime, because it's a mess here. I got 3 kids. They're all into it. The wife's into it. I'm into it. So it's like you never have to be like, well, this game's $65, honey. Is that going to be okay? She's the one that's like, get it. Sounds fun. Get it. I'm like, all right. Well, if you say so. If you say so.
Remember, you're the one who said yes.
Yeah.
You could have said no.
I know. I don't want to hear about it when there's no money for shoes. You said to buy this.
Can't get you your new car. We had to buy that game. I'm sorry.
All right, then, Tark, over to you.
So I am old +1. So my entry into gaming goes all the way back to the Intellivision. Burger Time, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, Ladybug, Dig Dug. Some great classic titles. RPGs didn't really catch me until I dabbled with Dragon Warrior, Final Fantasy I. But like Burn, it's when Final Fantasy II, which now everyone knows is 4, that pink box, and rented it over and over and over again from the little mom and pop shop, begging my mother, can we please just re-rent it, because I don't want my save file to get deleted by someone else. So that is by and far my favorite Final Fantasy. I love Cecil, Kane, the whole crew. Seeing 14 pay homage to that with this expansion has just been chef's kiss. It's been awesome. I've also dabbled in TCGs and CCGs. Started with Magic. I remember getting 4 Shivan Dragons and being like, oh, I'm the best Magic player in the world. And not understanding the game at all. Just like, I just knew I had those and was like, yeah, my deck is awesome. Really got into it with the Star Wars CCG. Star Wars is another one of my favorites games. IPs, I should say. It was one of those that I would go to tournaments. Almost got to regionals with that. Made one bad play in the last game, and damn it. Anyways, after that though, kicked the bucket. I haven't really picked it up since then. I would love to play Final Fantasy TCG, but there's no community around where I live. Unfortunately, I did look. But yeah, been gaming ever since. In the Intellivision, it's in my blood.
Nice. For myself, earliest memories I have is like the plug and play games. If you know what I'm talking about, just plug in a random thing on the controller, preloaded games. Playing Pong and Space Invaders, all that stuff. Then I ended up having like an Amiga, Commodore 64. But the one I remember is my Super Nintendo. That was my first console. And just Super Mario World. I don't remember anything else I played other than Super Mario World. I played a lot of that.
One of the best consoles ever.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's the console I regret losing. as a kid.
Mm.
My mother had a habit of, he hasn't played with it for a week, I'm getting rid of it.
Ooh.
Considering how many hours I've spent over my lifespan gaming.
Some less fortunate child is get to experience the joy of that console.
There's some Ash is right. There's somebody on another podcast right now that's like, I don't know, this person showed up and they just said my kid don't use it anymore. They handed it to me. It's been amazing ever since. Changed my life. That's where I started video gaming. And Flynn's like, son of a.
But yeah, a standout game, just speaking up for me back then, was Lawnmower Man. Don't know if either
Oh,
of you
wow.
played it.
Wow.
That
Yeah,
pseudo
yeah.
3D on the arcade shooter, that just blew my
Yeah.
mind back then. That blew my mind.
That was
to see
like the first time you played Star Fox on SNES,
Yeah.
and you were like, "What is this?"
Yeah, that was pretty much F-Zero did that for me.
Oh yeah.
Mode 7 graphics, yeah.
Yeah, from then, my first experience with PlayStation 1 was at a friend's house. Never queued on a console before. I was, a nerd. Just stayed at home, played my Super Nintendo, didn't get magazines, I just played Super Mario. But ended up at a friend's house playing Tekken 3. It's like, this is fucking amazing. Played rounds, didn't even know how to change characters' costumes by pressing square instead of X. So just like crazy introduction of controls. And then went to another friend's house and saw Final Fantasy VIII. The weirdest place you could ever watch it, which is the car rental in Esther City in this free. Just like, this game looks amazing. I need to get this. Ma'am, I want a PS1. I want Final Fantasy, whatever one that was. Ended up with Final Fantasy VII. Loved 7. Eventually got 8. Played the hell out of 8 over the years. I have at least platinumed it at least once through PlayStation, Xbox, 1000. I just got obsessed with the game. So much so, there's a Griever tattoo on my arm which you can't really see.
Nice.
But yeah, played a lot of it over the years, then just fell in love with the series as a whole. When I ended up getting a PSP, going back to the re-releases for 1, 2, 3, 4, and now playing stupid amount of hours of 14. Having, as Ash would say, a weird encyclopedic knowledge of the most random, mundane things in that game.
It's great. If I'm stuck, I just jump on Discord and go ball, and I'll just explain the most obscure thing, like where am I? Where do I go? And he's like the Tom. He's the Tom sat nav of Final Fantasy XIV. Fantastic.
But yeah, after the PlayStation 1, ended up with the PS2, I had demo this for Dark Cloud and just fell in love with that.
Oh man, I forgot about Dark Cloud. Dark Cloud 2 is damn good too.
Yeah, Dark Chronicle, we know that's over in the UK.
Yeah.
I just picked those two up on the PS5 for about £2-3 each. So yeah, I first time playing through Dark Cloud, and I played it a few days ago.
Yeah, it was just the PS2 was the era in gaming that I broadened my horizons, tried as many different genres as possible, first-person shooters, football, well, soccer to you, anything I could get my hands on, I gave a try. But it was RPGs that solidified what I fell in love with. But
Moonbadger in chat basically saying you type in FF14 wiki and your name and website comes up. So apparently you're the wiki.
I am the founder of knowledge for most of the FC. If you remember, back in The Realm Reborn, you had to go to the Flaming Wall in Eastern Fanaland, and you had to go down that little gully. Everyone I knew used to get lost and not see that again. I said, what level question one? Etc. Etc. It's like, right, you go to where the marker is, and it's a little side alley, and you just walk down. And that's where it stemmed from. It's like, I'm going to remember the most random stuff because I know someone will ask. But yeah, no, I've got a Switch, I've got a PC, I've got a Series S, got a PS4, so still very much there with my gaming. With other gaming, got into Yu-Gi-Oh! Thanks to a friend back in 2006, back when it was a very, very slow format. Still play it on and off today, where it becomes right, you're starting your turn, I'm going to cook some food, have a cup of tea, and you might be done with your first turn. Like, you've seen a bit of it in Master Duel. It's even worse in real life.
And I might be dead. I'm not sure. I'll find out when I come back.
Oh, yeah, and I've recently got into the Digimon TCG, which I've been really enjoying. Me and Ash have both tried to learn the FF TCG by ourselves, and just like, yeah, right, we've gone from, okay, we think to get us to, this has turned into a chess grandmaster thought process, and I don't know what's happening.
I have played some Magic the Gathering, so some of the rules of the Final Fantasy TCG kind of made sense, but then
you're like 15 minutes away from learning it if you have an MTG background at all.
While we're still on our history of gaming, let's start with the 2D era. What is a game that stands out above the competition for you? Like, whether it's just nostalgia, whether it's just something that this is something everyone should play.
Oh. See, mine are boring, but they're very nostalgic. My dad passed away years ago, right? But very young. He was, like 52. He didn't live the length he should have. And him and I were very close particularly when it came to gaming. Like, he loved the original Legend of Zelda, Mario Brothers, then into the Super Nintendo era. We played all of those games together. If they were single-player games, we took turns. If they were two-player games, but the ones that stick out the most, the ones that I remember, are Atari Space Invaders, because that always became a score competition between us, and then turned into a bet from my dad that I couldn't roll the score, send it from 9s back to 0. And so I probably spent like 3 days with the Atari 2600 Space Invaders before I did roll the score to win $20 from my dad. Fast forward years later, we have Zelda like on lockdown in our head, as far as where everything is and the fastest. We were speed running before there was speed running, boys. That's what Dad and I were doing. And he bet me again I couldn't beat it without dying once. And so I played it all through the day to do that one. I was allowed to take one death because I had to go sit at the dinner table for dinner, something a lot of people don't do anymore, right? But I had to go
with
sit.
my kids now, actually.
Yeah, right. I had to sit at the dinner table, so I was like, "Well, Dad, can I?" And he's like, "Yeah, go ahead and get killed there." But I did do it, so I won $40 from my dad on 2 different games. So you've probably played them, you've probably beaten them to death, but those are going to be my 2.
And think about this with that story. $20 back in that day, man, that was a fortune. That was a fortune.
I hate you. I hate you. Now I'm gonna look up.
It's bad enough that just a small can of Coke now. The price of a small can of Coke when me and Ash were kids, we could go to the shop, buy a bottle of Coke, crisps, chocolate, sweets, the lot, come out with a big bag of it. And, that's only 30 years, never mind that.
Oh, my God. That actually, those $20 then, I've estimated like 1989, right? 89, 90. What's the converted amount right now? Almost $46. Good Lord. I almost won a video game from my dad. Chat just mentioned Bubble Bobble. Oh my
I love Bubble
God,
Bobble.
the hours I sunk into Bubble Bobble.
Hell yeah. That and Burger Time were like 2 of my all-time favorites.
Do you know how long I played Bubble Bobble before I figured out about the side missions towards the end of the game to actually get the good ending of that damn oh my God.
That music now just popped in my head, and now
Dum 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 da dum dum da da ba da ba da bow. Sorry.
It's all good. The nostalgia train, that's what we're on here.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right,
Talking about
Ash,
history.
over to you for your 2D game.
Funny enough, it's not an RPG game. In fact, obviously, we're talking about kind of my entry into RPGs, but my brother had a Mega Drive. He's a few years older than me, so he had a console where I had a handheld because I was too young at the time, not responsible enough to have a console just yet. And Streets of Rage, because it's fantastic 2D game, and the soundtrack, even to this day, is fantastic for a 2D game. So I would say Streets of Rage and Shinobi were the two that kind of stuck out for me for Sega, because that's from a childhood kind of memories. They are the two that I have quite fond memories of.
Talk.
Do I have to pick just one?
If you
Can I cheat?
If you want to,
we've all taken two so far. So if the rules are only one, we already threw those away.
Okay, cool. One of them would be Ninja Gaiden. I put so many freaking hours into that game. Never actually beat it because that last boss was just freaking pain in the goddamn ass. The fact that someone you could get to the last boss, I felt was always an awesome achievement for anybody. But that game was just insane hard. And then Super Mario Brothers 3, when the movie The Wizard came out, and that was basically shown off in that movie, I'm like, I must have that game. It's Super Mario, and he's wearing a raccoon, and he can fly. Oh my god, this is amazing. So, yeah, those are my two. Those will leave a big imprint on my life and my childhood.
One that really stands out for me is the original Pitfall. Again, I don't remember what I played this on. It might have been one of the plug and plays, it might have been something else, but I just remember in this room where I am now, that wall just behind, the TV was set up there. I'm playing Pitfall, and I had my dad in the background just blasting Pink Floyd. And
nice.
It's just a nice memory of my dad from back then. Like, my dad was never interested in games. He enjoyed his music, and that's good enough for him. But another one that really stands out is I can't even think of his name now. A bit like Ash with the side-scrolling fighting was Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie. Used to remember just playing that with a buddy before school every day for about 4 months. Literally half hour of playing it, go to school. Don't think we ever finished it. Because it just got to the part where you do the Megazord battles, all the controls got a bit weird, and then it just went silly. But that's two for me. Let's move on to the next evolution, the first 3D era. So around the PS1. Yeah, let's say up until around the PS2 Dreamcast got released. Who wants to start on this one? I'll leave it open.
Why don't you, Flynn? You've been going last every time.
Two that stand out, but not for the reasons that I would like them to stand out, is two games I never finished until much later in life. The one is currently on your shelf behind you, Mike, Legend of Dragoon. Because at the end of disc 3, not knowing where to get the bloody codes. And the other one was Breath of Fire 4, as soon as you get to that giant open plain. Just going, how the hell do you get through this? How the hell?
Yep.
I literally spent hours upon hours in there. I just gave up. Like, the rest of my time on the PS1, I managed to get through the games. Like, loved the story like Final Fantasy, Metal Gear, Silent Hill, Resident Evil, all that stuff. But it's no shit the standards, like, for years, like, damn you! But yeah, when I come back to it years later, it was just such one of those moments, like, yeah. Like, the crazy thing for us, yeah, I don't know if you know this with Legend of Dragoon. You try buying a copy of that over here, it is silly expensive PAL regions.
Yeah, the PAL region copies. I have got a copy, and I got it bubble wrapped and stored away. Paul, you remember my sad little story of Legend of Dragoon when I first had a PlayStation? Yeah. I bought it at a car boot sale without a case, and there was 3 discs. I thought it was disc 1, 2, and 3, and I played the game. It was fantastic, and I got to the end of disc 3, and then it went, please insert disc 4. And I was just devastated.
No!
I picked it up for like 50p, so I was like, that's a couple of cents, isn't it? But Yeah. So when I was okay, I'm gonna buy this game, and then like Paul mentioned, the PAL copy is just extortionate. I never played Legend Dragoon then until about college, where we had emulators and did it the naughty way. But no, I built up a little PS1 classic collection of PAL copy games, and that is one of them.
All right, since you continued that, Ash, feel free to go
Ah,
with
yeah,
yours.
no, sir. Really odd one. Probably the first 3D. Did I even say 3D game? It was around the time I was 10. It was my brother kind of donated his PlayStation 1 to me. It was the PS1, not the PSX. It was the miniature size one. And I went to a bargain basket in a shop in Asda's, one in Blackwood, so one local to you, and I picked up Breath of Fire 4 and Harvest Moon, which is a really sad one from the fact that even to this day, I played my RPG games, but I still play it. I played Stardew Valley. I think that's quite a similar one. Those farm simulator games, because it's nice to sit back and kind of relax and just play those type of games. I can kind of see the appeal of like Animal Crossing, but I kind of never got into that. I did try to play the one on DS, but that Harvest Moon, it was Harvest Moon Back in Nature, I think it was on the PlayStation, and Breath of Fire 4, who were the first two 3D games I guess I played.
All right, cool.
Holy cow, you guys are right. Wow, I did. So I do an awful lot of video game collecting, right?
Yeah.
Like go to conventions and track down stuff. And anyway, spend way too much money on it. But I don't do a lot of. There are very, very particular things like that. I'll go seek like a Japanese copy or a PAL version or things like that. It's very specific. Like I want that Japanese Final Fantasy, this one, because of the box art, right? Let me go get that. I don't just generally let's get them all. So I had yeah. I had no idea the PAL version of Legend Dragoon.
Yeah.
It's like double. The United States, it's expensive. It's like $150. USD, you cats have to pay like 300 for that USD.
I also have a copy of Suikoden 1 and 2 on PS1, and those PAL copies.
So do I.
Yeah, they're quite expensive.
Yeah, those are getting ready to hit the safety deposit box at this point. They're way up there.
I was having this discussion with Tark the other day about the Final Fantasy box arts we get over here in the UK. Like in America, you always had full renders where we just get nice, crisp box art with just the amount of logo.
And that's where I exclaimed, "What the hell is the PlayStation name doing on the bottom? That's just insane. Who does that? It's supposed to go on the side. Come on."
Wasn't our dual cases different as well? The PAL, UK PlayStation PS1 cases, like from PS2 onwards, regardless of what region, the cases were the same. But PlayStation 1, they were different, weren't they?
Well, even on PlayStation, we had a lot of different style cases. I think over here we did have like the plastic spine with PlayStation on side, with that box art and with another PlayStation at the bottom. But unfortunately, I don't have any single disc PS1 games anymore to compare.
Yeah, so you guys, hold on. Let me grab something real quick.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, see, I could go to my wall and grab a bunch of shit too.
So you cats, like, we always had the PlayStation 1, our jewel cases were just regular CD cases, right? So we had just the clear plastic. This is, of course, after the big black plastic boxes, after Sony stopped using those, which were the original PlayStation 1 boxes. They were ridiculously oversized and hard black plastic.
Yeah, we never had that over here.
Yeah, we had those for a little while.
Yeah.
You remember those?
The original Resident Evil came out with the big, like cardboard plastic box.
Yeah.
They were dumb.
And so we just got the regular jewel cases, but I think and you guys can correct me. I think the PAL version, you guys had like a black this little hinge here on the front cover.
Yeah, the cases were a
This
bit
was
thicker as
this
well.
was black plastic and like actually had PlayStation engraved in that plastic, didn't you?
Yeah, I can show you that now. 1 second. So here is my copy of Super Nintendo 2. So
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about right there. Yeah.
So yeah, that's your single.
And they were beefy. They were beefier than ours.
Yeah. Well, and then this is Legend of Dragoon. So obviously it's double case. So yeah, this one's quite beefy.
Yeah.
Well.
So the boxes for your doubles were the same as ours. You just had the labeling and stuff in a different place. But yeah, the single CD boxes were totally different.
Yeah,
you guys, I like your guys better. I like the PAL versions.
Yeah, I think
better
even though
with the,
greatest
plastic.
hits PlayStation games looked a lot different to yours because ours were platinum hits. So we ended up having silver.
Yeah.
Yeah, which looks so much better than the stupid green and orange. Never mind.
The only issue is they take off the actual album, the CD art, and just leave what looks like a demo disc. That's the only downside to it. It's like, I want the Amano artwork on you, thank you.
Yeah.
So, Mike, with the question though, what's your top 1 or 2 3D?
Oh, in the like the initial 3D era. So again, I'm gonna go with Resident Evil on the PlayStation 1, and I'm very similar to you on this one, Flynn, in that I was like a Super Nintendo baby through and through. So I had no idea what's a PlayStation. I don't know. Doesn't matter. I got my Super Nintendo, and I was sitting at school, and a buddy of mine was reading the strategy guide for Resident Evil at the time. And I'm like, what is this? And so I'm like peeking over his shoulder, and we're looking at it. I'm like, this is awesome. This is incredible. What is this? A play what? Who makes this? It's a Nintendo. No, a PlayStation. Okay, sure. That was the first system I ever spent my own personal money on. Saved up. I got Super Nintendo for Christmas from Santa and like all that stuff. But PlayStation 1 was the first one I went out and bought with my own money. And I bought it, and I bought, Tark's heard this story before. I bought Resident Evil, and I have the big black box Resident Evil, and took it home and played it and got screamed at by my dad, who was not a fan of the blood and violence in the game. Coming from the Nintendo era, he had, not seen that in anything because we didn't like. I wasn't into fighting games yet, so I didn't play Mortal Kombat.
Which didn't even have the
Genesis
blood on Nintendo anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was just sweat on the Nintendo. They changed the color. And so he was so angry. And that's also where I learned about memory cards because the salesperson did not sell me one. And so, all my progress. I couldn't buy one till the next week. And so I had to wait, but I kept playing it. I remember coming home from school, and my dad, who had been giving me a hard time about this game and how it's unnecessary to have this much blood and everything in it. And all of a sudden one day he's like, "So what are you doing tonight?" And I said, "Oh, nothing. You done with your homework?" Yeah, I'm done with my homework, Dad. You gonna play that Resident Evil tonight? Because my video games systems were in the living room. My parents monitored what I was playing and what I was doing. Yeah. Again, things you don't see anymore. So
whatever.
with exceptions. Tark and I are exceptions. But he was like, "Yeah, I guess I could play it, Dad." And he's like, "Well, I want to know what happens." Like, he got so engrossed in the story that it didn't matter anymore. He just wanted to watch this play out and see. And then from then on, he was like a Resident Evil nut. I'm also going to flip over to the N64 and GoldenEye. I mean, come on, man. Yeah. I don't even like first-person shooters. Like, for generally speaking, I have a few favorites that I still play, and there's new favorites being added to the list, but I don't seek out first-person shooters, and I certainly didn't back then because I wasn't a PC gamer. And there was, any first-person shooter that tried to do something on PlayStation 1 or N64 met with mediocre results until GoldenEye for me. I mean, that game was just nutty. The hours I sunk into that with my friends. Nutty.
The only shooter game from like that generation I remember playing was Alien Trilogy.
Oh, wow.
That game,
So,
first time playing that, and you had the face I could just jump on the screen. I just screamed.
The worst thing about my brother had that on the Sega Saturn, and the worst thing about that, because I watched him play it, was the level where you get to the scene where you're fighting the Queen alien, and the music is the most anxiety-causing background music. If you go on YouTube and you can find that level and find that and just listen to that music, it's horrifying. The music's worse than the actual levels.
Quickly before
yeah, because this was like the same. This was like the same era, right? With when we had going from 2D to 3D is the same era that we went from chiptunes to orchestrated music as well in the video game. So that was like there's good music on the SNES and the NES and the Sega Genesis here and there, and they're iconic beats, the Mario theme and all that stuff. But when you got to PlayStation 1, you were just like, whoa. Like I remember the first time I heard One Winged Angel while I was playing. I mean, there's what?
Was this also the first area of voiceovers?
Legible audio. Yes, there was a 2D game. Anarchy. It featured Aerosmith and. It was an AVGN episode recently. That's the only reason I remember it. They had Steve Tyler voicing there. They had the actual audio from the band from Aerosmith.
Yeah, that was in the arcade, right? It was a big arcade
but
game.
it was a home console version as well. I still kept some of it.
Gotcha.
But yeah,
and so back on Genesis and Super Nintendo, there was always like bits of 2 or 3 words or things like that. So but as far as like fully voiced, realized characters, this was kind of the era that started breaking into that. Obviously, Metal Gear Solid, a huge example of that. When you hit the PlayStation 1 era, absolutely.
And also a game that we won't see do things as smart as they used to. That one codec that was on the back of the box.
Yes. Oh yeah, well, I mean that's a holdover from like the Commodore 64, Macintosh, like those days of anti-piracy measures is what it was. That was like a little holdover when you used to boot up for all you kids out there. The like Commodore 64 and the Macintosh and the Tandy and all that stuff. There used to be things like that as a piracy measure. Typically at the beginning of the game, but they could put it anywhere where you would get a pop-up message that would be like, pull out this key card that came with the game and go to line 5, row 7 or column 7 and type the word, or open up the manual to this game, go to page 16. What's the 3rd paragraph, 8th word? And if you couldn't answer those questions, you didn't get to play anymore. Like that was it.
Womp womp.
Yeah. That Monkey Island. Yeah. The anti-piracy moon badges, absolutely right. So that was an interesting holdover, not only as a neat feature for like somebody who wasn't in that era, but from somebody who played for 10 years before that. That was a little throwback for us too. So it was a little double serving there.
All right, let's move on to Tarkoth for your PlayStation era.
So, I went from NES to this SNES, Final Fantasy II, and then when Final Fantasy III came out, I had to have it. I was too young to have my own money, so I had to ask them for that for my birthday, specifically for that. I'm like, I don't care about anything else. Give me clothes, okay, that's fine. I need to have Final Fantasy III in my life. Such an amazing game. But then it was quite a while before we had another Final Fantasy. In that time, I went through a PC phase. So I had a friend who introduced me to Might and Magic, Heroes of Might and Magic, XCOM, a bunch of cool stuff on PC at that time. And when PlayStation came out, I was like, whatever. Sony, okay, they're trying. I was a little bit more interested in the N64 that was coming out. But when they announced Final Fantasy VII in 97, I believe it was, I knew at that point that I had to have that system. It was such a game changer, and I've been a PlayStation guy for forever. I mean, Suikoden, Legend of Legaia. I mean, come on. Legend of Dragoon. And this one I sunk probably months of my life into Ogre Battle, March of the Black Queen.
Oh yeah.
As far as maybe the top 2 3D ones that really affected me, Final Fantasy VII really dug its hooks into me. And then I'd probably have to say Super Mario 64. I mean, what it was able to do on the N64, I thought was just mind-blowing. Bringing Mario into a 3D area was just amazing. This is the best thing ever. Of course, it got better, but
But was you kind to the baby penguins?
Good
Never.
times.
You find both of them and then throw them both off the cliff.
Yep. Punt them.
Oh, well.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Right, let's speed up a little bit again on in the show a bit. Let's combine the PS2 and PS3 style eras together. Because we are going forward in technology where everything just expanded and gone crazy. I'll start again with this one. For the PS3, Resistance, Fallen Man really stood out. These giant Leviathan battles.
Yeah.
And I remember just playing the online with that and trying out Mag when that came out. The really ridiculous size online maps on the console.
Mm-hmm.
But trying to think what really stood out for the PS2 for me. Probably Fahrenheit, Indigo Prophecy, as you know it over there, by Quantic Dream.
Yeah.
Just the way they use the controls for you moving when you climb in, the way you interact, it was just so immersive back then. And it really drew me in to the point that I've loved every game Quantic Dream have released since. And I'm really hoping they recruit enough people for the Star Wars game, and it's good. Mr. Byrne, do you want to go next?
So I'm gonna pick 3 here.
Yeah, go nuts.
But I'll go quick. Because 2 of them kind of relate together. So I'm gonna lump Dreamcast in this era because Dreamcast was
it
right
was like a
before
PS2 equivalent, yeah.
Right, $99.99, right? And so I'm gonna say Phantasy Star Online, and then on the PS2, Final Fantasy XI. So this was like my technical first time with online gaming. I knew what was going on in the PC world. I had played the occasional games of Warcraft or Age of Empires online and things like that. But that was me dialing up a friend playing them. These things were just mind-blowing for me at the time, opening up the world to massively multiplayer games in general, RPGs in these examples, but MMO in general. And the technology just like warped my brain, like how far we had jumped. It was like we just had dial-up yesterday, and now we're on DSL, and cable's becoming a thing, and look at what we're able to do with it. Just absolutely fantastic from a technical standpoint, and really introducing me to online play, because growing up, we were not well off. My family, we were, we were not well off. We were on the poorer side. So we didn't have a computer that could do those things until much later in my 19 years old, 20 years old, just as I'm moving out of the house. That's probably what freed up money, actually, now that I think about it. I moved out of the house, and all of a sudden my parents had money. Imagine that.
You didn't need to out of house and home anymore.
Right. But as far as one of my favorite games that a lot of, and it's not a technological marvel in this era, that's why I gave you the MMOs for that, is Culdcept on the PS2. Take Magic the Gathering, take Monopoly, and mix them together, basically, and put them into a game. And man, the hours that I just spent playing that against people, against my wife and against my kids when they were older, they need to make a new Culdcept. It's been too long. There's only a couple of them. You can get the original was on PS2. There's an Xbox 360 one. There's a handheld one as well. If you get a chance, any of them will do. A Culdcept Saga is out there as well. So check them out. Check them out.
Cool. Ash, over to you while Tark's missing.
Did Tark just go pee? Is that what it was?
He's somewhere.
I'm going to pick two here. One on the PS2 and the other on GameCube, obviously because we're on the same era. For the PS2, it was Persona 3. It was kind of my introduction to the Shinigami series. Fantastic game. I know Final Fantasy has its kind of Japanese elements, but it has the appeal to the Western market where Persona, especially the Shinigami games in general, keep that Japanese influence. They don't kind of do it to pander to the West type of thing. And yeah, it was a fantastic game. And moving from the lighter, easy RPGs to then playing Persona, and that was punishing enough. And then I played the Shinigami series, the mainline series, and that's I've just recently picked up Shinigami 5, and yeah, you don't mess around. That game will punish you if you make a mistake.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely Persona 3 definitely got me into the Shinigami, so that would be the one. And for GameCube would be Tales of Symphonia, which that's another game. If you have a PAL copy, is very expensive, but Tales of Symphonia was fantastic. It was the first 2-disc GameCube game I'd ever seen, that's for sure. And yeah, just the story was fantastic. Such a I think it was about 80 hours to play it if you just kind of go through the game in general. If you actually know what you're doing now, because and again, that was my introduction to the Tales of series. So I picked up Graces and Exilia on the PS3, where it stand out really well. And amongst the others, Vii, obviously quite recently, but Symphonia was fantastic.
Yeah, before we go over to Tark, I have to say Ash has been my introduction to a few standout things like the Persona series, the Tales of series. It took me a while to get me into Persona because his introduction was Persona 4 with the second palace and going, yeah, it's just this steamy gay hot tub scene. And it's like, you're trying to sell me on this out? But eventually did go to play Persona 4 Golden on the Vita and just loved it.
Yeah, Ash, I went the other way with you than you did. I started my first experience was Nocturne, Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne on the PS2.
Yep. That was
and then was like, man, this is ridiculously hard. This is totally something I've never played before. Can't compare it to anything. And then jumped to Persona and had to go pick up. And luckily, they still weren't worth mega bucks yet, so I was able to go back and grab the PlayStation 1 versions and start catching up on the Persona series.
Right, Tark, over to you, mate.
SMT3 was like the Dark Souls before Dark Souls came out. It was difficult for no reason whatsoever. But maybe that's why Persona existed, to have a little bit easier and some social dynamics and stuff. I'm gonna give 3, one for each of the consoles. For the PlayStation 2, I was big into EverQuest. This is where I started my MMO journey. And when Champions of Norath released on the PS2, me and my buddy that played EverQuest sunk untold weeks and months of our lives into Champions of Norath, replaying New Game Plus 3 or 4 times, just because it was just a fun grabber stabber, to use Jason Winter's term. It was awesome. For PS3, I'm gonna have to go Dragon Age Origins. It was such a throwback to RPGs of the past. The turn-based, the stopping kind of, the dice roll kind of feel to it. It was It was so good. God, I wish BioWare could get back to that. And then for GameCube, I'm gonna have to go Skies of Arcadia.
Oh,
That's a good one.
you gotta play the OG Dreamcast. Break out your
Yeah.
Dreamcast.
Okay, that's the only. Yeah, that's the only two.
I have to get my GameCube from the X. Okay, she still has.
Did you play Grandia 2 on the? That was
my first
PS1.
Grandia, and I fell in love with that.
Yeah.
that was Dreamcast.
Grandia 2, Grandia 3, Grandia Extreme. They're all on my wall.
Oh yeah, Grandia 2 Dreamcast. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Grandia 2 I played on the PS2.
Yeah, it came out on the PS2 later.
Yeah. The only ones I really remember I had on Dreamcast was Shenmue and Soul Reaver Legacy of Kain.
There's a series that needs to come back.
Oh yeah,
Square has it.
They do.
Square has the rights to it.
Yeah, and they went ahead and did Nosgoth and then killed that too.
Womp womp.
And with that, let's move on to our current generations.
This is also the era, by the way, the PS2, PS3, Dreamcast era. We went from no communication to not only typing, which had started in the PS2 era, but now voice communication from PS2 to PS3 and 360 and all of that. Remember, this is where we started breaking out the headsets on consoles.
Yeah, it was a lot of Call of Duty World of War on the headset.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about it? PS3, Final Fantasy XIV.
Yeah.
Still have my box. Realm Reborn, right there.
Yeah, I remember SOCOM on the PS2, right?
Oh, SOCOM, yeah. Actually being able to give commands.
Yeah.
Again, another thing, though, just
sometimes you weren't even talking to another player. You were just like you're doing the AI
Alpha team
commands.
forward.
Exactly. So underrated.
I think I would have flagged Final Fantasy XI because I did play 11 on the Xbox 360. But that play online sign up just kind of ruined it.
Oh my god!
I do remember coming up yours, Ash, and you on the Xbox controller had that keyboard you plugged in just so you could type in everything.
Yeah, I mean, I had a keyboard for the Dreamcast and I had a keyboard for the PlayStation 2, and yeah, Moon Badger.
The only time I
we
used
already
a
type
mouse
on
and
the PC,
keyboard on the console before the PS4 was on the PS2 playing Dirge of Cerberus.
Yeah, I didn't use a mouse on either of them, but I did use the keyboard for typing in EverQuest Online Adventures. Anybody remember that?
Yeah, didn't touch
Final
it.
Fantasy 11 and PSO 2.
Yeah, up until
Or
14,
PSO, sorry, PSO.
my online gaming was limited to RuneScape.
Ah, there you go. Yeah.
But yeah, the PS4, PS5, the Xbox One, the era of really high fidelity graphics. Tark, do you want to start with this one?
Oh my goodness, where to start, man? My collection's so huge, and I love all of them so much. And then the fact that they're still putting out PS4 games and remakes and all that fun stuff. God, where do I go? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where to go with this, to be fair. Come back to me. I don't know. There's so many good ones.
Two quick, easy ones for me, both from the PS4, just because the storylines just blew my mind. Horizon Zero Dawn and Ghost of Tsushima. Both those storylines played out like a movie. Everything, all the side quests bleeding into a finale, everything you do, it wasn't just fetch quests. Everything led itself to that ending. Both games.
Ghost of Tsushima had me when their title splash. When you go riding through the flowers and they are all
through the pampas
going up in the wind.
It's so me when you're just that initial scene on the horse and Jin reaches down to put his hand through it. It's like, yeah, I'm in love with this game. Turn it into black and white mode. Go classic Akira Kurosawa. Yeah, I played the hell to that. And same with Horizon Zero Dawn, especially coming from Killzone. It's like, right, these guys are FPS guys. the gameplay looks cool. Just playing the story, learning about Aloy, and just
Yeah, I was
awesome.
streaming Tsushima when the first time when it launched, and I was like, all right, we're gonna get a splash screen at some point, chat. And then when it showed up, it was like, okay, that was gorgeous. That was very cinematic. I love you. I'm hooked.
And for a third one for me, it's an hard tie for me because God of War is another one, cinematic masterpiece. But there's one thing with God of War. I'm a huge Stargate fan. And it's our point where Kratos is up the mountain and he just does a perfect teal indeed. I'm like, yes, Chris Judge, I can never go back to the old Kratos. You give me my indeed, and I'm happy. But if it wasn't God of War, I'd be mentioning it'd be 14, because this is the point I really got into the 2.0, and my love affair with 14 that's continued since. So it's really hard to choose between those two. I'd have to probably choose 14.
When you play 14, are you console or are you PC now?
PC now. I
PC
tend
now.
to, if I visit the in-laws, they've got a spare TV, I take my PS4 up with me. I cannot go back to PS4 load times. When I eventually get PS5, I'll swap between them both. Take the one upstairs. Ash, Mike, either of you know which games you'll choose?
So you took the words out of my mouth when you said Ghost of Tsushima. The only reason I would say that too, and I know it spans multiple generations, just like GTA 5, but Skyrim, because Ghost of Tsushima and Skyrim are two games where I'm not, like, especially on a PlayStation, I don't do trophy hunting, and a friend of mine, Jack, he kind of just, you'll play through a game, just ignore the story, and he said, he just plays purely for like trophy hunting and kind of spoils a game. So I don't do it. I play for the story. But there are two games that I found myself platinum and getting all the trophies for the games. Not because I was aiming to do that, just because the games were just so immersive, so brilliant, and I just found myself doing all the extras, every little bit of side content, every little side story I could do. I was doing that before I even finished the main story. And obviously after the main story, I was like, what else could I do? What else is there left to do? Usually when the credits roll, good game, bad game, you just go, oh, that's it, it's done. But no, with those games, I was like, there's got to be more to it.
Especially with Skyrim's quest encoding, so it always generates something new.
Yeah, so obviously, when I said, you got to complete all the side quests, you can't do that. So what I was talking about is you have these side quests, but then you have the kind of like the companion.
Skyrim's the one where about 2,000 soldiers took arrows to knees, right?
Yeah,
Roughly,
yes.
roughly.
All
Yeah.
have the same story. But yeah, I agree with you with 14 as well, because I'm not afraid to admit that game can make me ugly cry. It does. That's just the story. My friend he's quite big into anime. He asked me the other day, "What's the best like ending to an anime you've ever seen?" And I said 14. Endwalker, to be more precise. The ending of that, that will trump any kind of anime ending. It was just epic.
All right. Tark, do you know yours yet, or should we let Mike go?
Oh yeah, yep, I do.
All right, go ahead.
So I got two for the PS4. Mike should know one of them. When I first came on to Ready Check Radio, and I started to stream, I didn't know what to do, and Mr. Byrne kind of guided me to this path and rekindled my love for this series that I hadn't played in quite a long time, to the point where I had to play the game so much that I platted it. It was like 120 hours, all on Ready Check Radio. Mike, do you remember that game?
Yeah, that's going to go ahead and be Dragon Quest Elusive Age.
Yes, number 11. So good. That's what makes me actually worried about Dragon Quest 12, because if they're going to change the formula of the cartoon and the kind of levity that Dragon Quest has kind of always had, I'm a little worried about it. But so that's one of them. The second one, I like Dark Souls. I like, the difficulty, but Bloodborne and its aesthetic, the gothic style, having two weapons equipped at a time, each weapon having like two different modes. The difficulty was just perfect. The bosses were epic in nature. It's such an awesome game. I hope that it gets a remaster with the higher frame rate, because it deserves it. It's going to be an
fans have
all-time
been
classic for
clamoring
me.
for that. 60
Yeah,
FPS
absolutely.
Bloodborne.
Yeah.
But I was going to mention this earlier when you mentioned Dark Souls before Dark Souls. Have any of you, well, I know Ash has, played Kudelka? Back on the
Oh,
PlayStation.
yes. Oh, funny story. Oh, I got a Kudelka. Can I tell Kudelka's story?
Go for it.
Go for it.
I bet you didn't know anybody was going to remember Kudelka. But yes, I have a Kudelka story. I bought Kudelka at a Kmart in Monroeville in Pittsburgh, where I live, Pittsburgh, PA. I'll give you my address after the show. So I went to a Kmart. Yeah, there's only 3 left now, but that's fine. So I went to a Kmart. My friend was at the time was driving. My girlfriend at the time was there. Now my wife. And we went in and we picked up Kudelka because we were into like Fatal Frames and obviously Resident Evils and Silent Hills, and okay, Kudelka, that kind of fits the bill when you're seeing it advertised, right?
Yes.
We
Okay.
go in, we buy Kudelka, we come out, we sit down in the car. We haven't left the lot yet, and it was one of those double disc box because it was a multi-disc game. And we open the thing, the wrapper, the cellophane, to take a look at the manual as we're getting ready to pull out. My friend is the one driving. I open the thing, and there are 4 AOL 50-hour free discs in the box. Every word that I'm telling you is 100% true. There are 4 AOL 50 free hour discs in the box. What must have happened was the Kmart employee stole the game and threw it through the shrink wrap machine and sealed it back up and put it on the shelf. And now I have to go into this store and convince somebody at customer service that I did not do this. That I need a copy of the game that actually has the game in it. Luckily, customer service didn't care. Like they're just whatever. We don't care. Fine, go get another game. But had I not opened it in the lot, I would have gotten home with 200 AOL free hours that weren't free because they would have cost $50. And there's no way Kmart would have taken it back had I not returned it 5 minutes after I walked out with it. So yeah, fun. But yes, great game by the way.
Also a game that you should recognise the Welsh voice. It was set in Wales.
Yeah, that was me being dumb.
I remember. It took me a while to remember Cloudica, but that game, my mind was blown when I found out that Shadow Hearts was connected to that. I was like, "Oh, you've got to be kidding me! Really? That's amazing!"
Speaking of expensive series that I'm about to take, I'm about to take all of my copies of that series to the safety deposit box, Ash.
Yeah, Shadow Hearts.
Oh yeah, I don't blame you. My friend has both of the Shadow Hearts games, but yeah, you were saying they were set in Wales. It's Aberystwyth, if I remember.
Yeah, the first one, then Shadow Hearts' last battle was above Anglesey.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. So what? That's 3 including Kudelka, or?
No, not including Kudelka. If you include Kudelka, there's 4.
Wow, I only thought there was Kudelka and Shadow Hearts 1 and 2. I didn't know there was a third one.
Yeah, it was Shadow Hearts 1, New World and Covenant, I think.
Yeah, I had New World. I didn't.
I'm not sure about the film. I think it's Covenant. I could be wrong.
We're gonna see it now.
Yeah, it's Shadow Hearts Covenant and From the New World. Yeah.
There's your 4-pack.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I had 1 and 2. I've never played the third one. I didn't even know the server existed. There you go.
I love the combat system in Shadow Hearts, man. The spinning thing,
yeah.
you gotta hit the targets.
You
Like,
just-
oh my god!
Yeah, did we get through both of your games there, Tark?
For PS4?
Yeah.
Yeah, it chose Dragon Quest XI
Yeah,
and Bloodborne.
All right, Mike, over to you.
PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X era. I'm gonna give one of my awards to Control. I loved Control. A fantastic game. Love the gameplay and the story. I'm into weird occult shit. Well, I mean, we were talking about Kudelka, for God's sake.
Yeah. Next, we'll be talking about Eternal Darkness.
Yes, yeah. So I love Control. I got to give another nod, excuse me, to probably Metal Gear 5. I know that's not
A controversial
exactly.
choice.
Yeah, it's a controversial choice. I don't think David Hayter definitely should have been the voice for Solid Snake still. Sorry, Kiefer, love you, but you should have stuck to 24 at the time. And yeah, I like it. I'm sorry, I like it, but I want to not pick some of the ones that you guys did. There isn't a single thing wrong with any your titles. I would absolutely pick them. And then I'm going to go with one that is generally played on PC, but I'm playing it on the Xbox One an awful lot more than I've ever had in my entire life, because the series has been basically there my entire life, and that is Microsoft Flight Simulator. The newest versions of that are just absolutely incredible to play. My oldest son is in flight school, so we've been messing around with their all that stuff a great deal.
Yeah.
And
Have
I'm
you
just having
got
a blast with it.
perfect home cockpit set up yet?
Not yet. We have the flight stick, we have the throttles. We do not have the rudder pedals yet, but we have been looking at them, and we have been looking at the mounted chairs where you could just like screw everything down into the chair. The only reason it's not here yet is because I'm like, where the hell would I put this when we're not using it?
That's where you're also working on the Room Edition, right? So you can have the whole tilt axis
No,
thing.
I'm just gonna buy a studio and move all of Ready Check Radio stuff there, and
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's the way to do it. All right, I think we've talked about
Is that why you asked me to come to Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I need help moving.
Yeah, I think we've discussed our history of games a fair chunk. So let's move on to the back end of the show now with 14. Like, I am completely obsessed with this game. It is just the right in between Ishikawa Oda-san all the way through as Kobe, even Realm Reborn. As much as people meme on the story wasn't that good, it drew me in. It was Final Fantasy, seeing the Malbros and everything else, it just drew me. The story intrigued me from the get-go. And, all these years later now into 6.1 today, without me spoiling it, it's just like, holy shit, I need the next patch now. And that's just the MSK from the day going, right, you're connecting this and this and that and that and this and this. Just mind-blowing stuff from A Realm Born, coming it back now, leading into what's next. And you've been saying on Ready Check Radio, Mike, this is such a fresh slate of where things can go. But it still feels familiar, but new and exciting. And especially how they've handled characters, we get in new perspectives as well. It's just... the storytelling has just gotten so good over the years. Especially with, seeing them do all these side quests with the Namazu especially and Hildebrand to get these comedy faces that they add in extra places. So you get the creepy Lalafell stays now. We fought Chaos already. It's in Omega.
It's just Lalafells, okay? It's just Lalafells that are creepy.
Yeah, I've been running a D&D homebrew campaign with Asher and the two boys that are in the Twitch chat as well. There's a couple of others. And the one plays a Lalafell. And his little token now is Lalafell with in-release ice. That's his token, just to see what little Lalafell. It's so creepy and amazing. But yeah, I remember before Heaven's War came out, I was playing Dragoon, then seeing the artifact armor for Heaven's War. I was like, holy shit, this looks amazing. Just like, right, Aura released. Yeah, I'm going from Hrothgar, you know, big, bulky. I want a Slimline Dragoon. I want that jump fantasy now. And then played with Dragoon non-stop. Ended up swapping to Dark Knight during Stormbloods because we needed a more regular tank in a free company. Ended up going through some stuff, deleted my character. Took about a year off. Came back. Started with Warrior this time. Go to the end of Stormblood, Shadowbring release, Gunbreaker announced, Squall Fantasy, Digital Deluxe Edition, Squall Revolver. Yeah, I'm sold. And I've been gunbreaking ever since. I still dabble with other jobs, you know, leveled everything up in Shadowbringers so I could at least know enough about each job for doing raids and stuff.
Yeah. And you want to do the role quests.
Oh, yeah, especially, yeah. But it was more just... Every time we put it online, half the time, even if we're just running expert dungeons, we're just hanging out, chatting. Especially during COVID, because I'm a full-time carer for my wife. She has physical disabilities, so I don't tend to go much.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, all the COVID stuff didn't happen to me, because my socializing was still the same. I was still only doing shopping once a fortnight. So it kept me sane during all of it.
What? There's a pandemic?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't even.
It took Flynn 6
I
months
haven't
to
been to
realize
Wicked
it was
Weeks.
different.
Yeah, while you guys were sequestered in your little homes, I was dealing on the healthcare side of things during it. God, that was fracking awful.
Yeah. It was a crazy time, especially with everything we know about what was going on 14 side with the delays and soaking and everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 14 has been a good place for people's sanity across the board.
No doubt.
Yeah, I agree.
If any of you guys want to chime in about why you love the game.
Oh,
Well, you want to go first?
yeah. I was gonna say one of the best memories I have of 14 was me and my brother traveled out to Japan, and we were out there for a month. And
Oh,
when we
cool.
were in Tokyo, I visited the Eorzea Cafe and got to sit there and have I forgot the omelette, but it was all the themed food from the game. And just to be, I logged in. I was because you were online at the time, Paul. No surprise there, but you were online. You're always online. And yeah, it was just funny because I've kind of with my work, I worked in Madrid for a few months, and I was in Denmark as well. So it was funny because I was always logging into 14 just from like different time zones, and Paul was always online, so it was always something to play with when I jumped in.
Something to keep to normality.
I bought you back some of the coasters, of from the Eorzea Cafe.
Yeah.
Every time you ordered something, they give you a coaster with the job theme, and I just every time you ordered a beer, it came with a card. So I was like, I'm gonna collect all. This is gonna be very easy. So yeah, that was probably a good memory to have of 14, certainly.
Talk.
Well, as I stated earlier, I was part of 1.0, so I was playing on PC with that. And I lasted about a month. And I had heard that they were going to relaunch, do a 2.0, and I wasn't really sure. And then I happened across this show with these two guys that, you know, that kind of piqued my interest back into 14. God, what was it called? Oh, XIV Reborn. That piqued my interest for that for the game to come back. And one of the saddest parts of coming back to 14 with the Realm Reborn is that I was with my now currently ex-wife, but she wanted to try to get into it too. Well, I was already on PC, was going to get, you know, free code for PC because I had already purchased the game, and we were going to get it for PS3 for her. Well, she couldn't wrap her head around the controllers, so I was like, okay, you know what, I'll swap with you. It's fine. So I started on PS3. She took the code and started her own account on PC. unfortunately, with that swap, she took the code for the Kate Sith minion. So I can no longer get that minion. It makes me very sad that that's one minion that I will never have unless they put it on the cash shop, which I doubt they will. But yeah, I've been a fanatic. Watch all the shows that I can. Mr. Happy, XIV, Very Boring, where as long as it lasted. Mog Talk. I try to soak it all up. And I am excited and happy that I'm part of a Square Enix program with Mr. Byrne here, pretty much every week to get that stuff off my chest because I love talking about it. I love the game so much, and Endwalker has just been amazing. It's been crazy good.
Yeah, I picked up a remnant of the original 1.0 14 quite recently. I needed a soundbar, so I went for Dolby Atmos soundbar for my PC, and there was a few of these left on eBay. So I,
nice.
the only remnant of 1.0 I have left.
Oh, I got one more sadness for 14 actually. So because of the pandemic, it shut down what was supposed to be my first fan fest, and I cried. I actually literally cried when they canceled it. I was like, please, no.
Yeah, we was in the same boat over here. It was the first one for the UK. I was like, oh, it's only London. We could drive down.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. But in a way, I'm kind of glad the Digital Fan Fest went the way it did. It was such a good event. We, a couple of us in the FC, we all just jumped in Discord to watch it live. Ash here went delirious at 4 o'clock in the morning. I just passed out on us.
Hey, you guys turned into Ready Check Radio to watch it there, right?
We just had the stream up by itself, unfortunately. We would have talked over you.
Good times.
Mike?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long haul, right? I mean, I was Final Fantasy XI from launch day in North America on the PlayStation 2 all the way through PC. And then when 14 was announced and we started getting wind of it, it was just, all of us long-time 11 players that were there for every expansion. And we're just like, you know what? I just want Final Fantasy XI with a WoW interface. Like, we didn't want much. We were just like, can we get away from menus and just give me like a WoW style interface?
Just westernize this a bit.
That's all we wanted. And then going through beta was just heartbreaking. It was just heartbreaking because we were giving all of this feedback and we also knew that they weren't listening. They, the team in charge at the time, I mean, nothing was ever officially translated for us into English. It was all done through fan sites and forums and stuff because it was just Japanese or bust as far as the development team went. And so all this feedback we knew was not being heard. There wasn't going to be huge changes. And then we get version 1.0.
I don't know if you felt this, but like 2 weeks left with the beta, and launch days just around the corner. I'm like we're going to get a delay.
Yeah, there's got to be a delay. Yeah,
there's got to be a delay, and there just wasn't, and it was just released as it was. It was like, oh my god, this is awful.
Now the thing was, I was and still am such a Final Fantasy fanboy that when the team started making changes to who was there and the direction, I already knew I was going to give them a second chance. Maybe stupidly on my part, but I knew I was going to give them a second chance. And I'd been covering games forever at that point. And I had no clue who the hell Yoshi P was, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he worked on a Dragon Quest game. Great. Okay, cool. What, he's in charge now? Oh, wow. Okay. Sure. Why not? Can't be any worse, right? Sure.
It's already a financial disaster. How bad can it be?
Right. How bad can it be?
Have you seen the YouTube meme video where oh boy.
1.0 in a nutshell.
1.0 in a nutshell. Thank you.
Just 1.0 on fire.
Yeah.
But like we all play MMOs for what you guys are talking about, like the memories, the camaraderie, the friends. It's why people still play EverQuest today. It's why people still play RuneScape today. It's why people still play Meridian today, right? Because generally speaking, because of who they're playing with, even at the expense of the game isn't what it once was. Yeah. So all of those things you say are true, 100%, 100%. The thing that surprised me outside of that stuff, I knew I was going to like Final Fantasy storytelling. I knew I wanted a Final Fantasy MMO that was in the style of a more modern MMO with some of the things we'd learned through World of Warcraft and other MMOs through the years. What surprised me was the team behind it, particularly Yoshi P. The man's philosophy and approach to the why this works and how this should work is just something that not only do you not see in gaming, you don't see it even within Square Enix fully. Yeah. Square Enix is talking about NFTs, is talking about blockchain technology, is talking about things throughout Chocobo GP in the worst microtransaction fueled thing. Like they're making typical gaming decisions, but when it comes to 14, the philosophy behind it, driven by essentially one person at the top and a team dedicated to that division or to that vision, I couldn't ask for anything better. Yeah. It's a Final Fantasy MMO in a modern control scheme. That's all I wanted, with an amazing story, great PvP or PvE. Yeah, great PvP. Yeah, get the hell out of here.
It does now.
And you know, I knew all those could be good, but the philosophy is just, wow. Yeah. I have to respect that along with my love for the game itself.
That's been the biggest thing when I've tried to get people into it, is just the transparency. If there's something wrong with the game, they will own up to it. They will tell you what you're doing with it.
When you have somebody at the top that says, hey, our sub-based game that we depend on you paying $15, $14, $13, whatever your sub ends up being for you, because there are variances if you're legacy and stuff. For somebody at the top of that to say, Flynn, if you want to bounce after you're done with the 6.1 stuff and go play some other great games, because there are tons of great games out there, and then come on back at 6.5 and resub up, cool. Yeah. Have fun, and we hope you enjoy the games. You don't hear companies say that. And when you do hear them say something like that, it comes off as false or lip service, where you know that it's just legit when Yoshi P says it. I mean, this is a man that got on stage, bowed, and cried, asking for forgiveness and an apology for something he had nothing to do with. You know, he wasn't in charge for 1.0, but still. So yes, everything you've said. Great story, great game, love it. Friends that I've made that I've never met in real life, but are still friends with to this day. All of it true, but I got to respect the vision behind it too.
You got to give credit to GP from the fact that how he managed to save that sinking ship. As it was, and to a point that the mainline Final Fantasy 13 really did get quite. I didn't find it so bad, but not ideally the best. They kind of started moving away, and 15 again because of the turmoil with the development and all that, and having to throw it out versus 13. Like recycle a lot of what they had, and it just kind of felt messy where they put it together. And you would think that people would be concerned with Final Fantasy 16, but now you know it's Creative Business Unit 3. That's Yoshi P's here. I'm not worried at all, because when you know that man's running the development of that, I have full confidence in him that that's going to be.
Yeah, I think I walk away looking at 16 going, you know, the only thing I might not like is the story. You know, I have confidence in the game and its mechanics, and the, you know, I'll probably enjoy its combat, and I'll probably enjoy some systems about it. Really, the only question mark for me is, am I going to like the story or not? We'll see. We'll see. And if I walk away not liking the story, that doesn't mean it's a bad game. for me.
Yeah,
Like,
with
you know,
the transparency.
Kingdom Hearts to me is great games, and at this point, I really don't care about Kingdom Hearts stories anymore.
Kingdom Hearts 3 soured me so much.
I talked about that yesterday.
I know I've said this to Ash, I've said it to Tark, I've said it to you on Ready Check Radio. Kingdom Hearts 3 was 80% Kingdom Hearts 4 prep and 2% Kingdom Hearts 3, the rest of it was random Disney worlds.
Yep.
Yeah. They kind of got rid of the Final Fantasy element for 3 as well.
Yeah,
We exactly said
Yeah,
that.
That's exactly what I said on
Like,
on the Relic ride yesterday.
How many times can you have Pirates of the Caribbean now? How many times can you do Olympus Coliseum over and over and over?
Well,
again?
how many movies are there for Pirates of the Caribbean? That many times. There we go.
And
Well,
the
each
world
movie
didn't
is
feel
a
like it
world.
added to anything either.
And then the Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer, and they finally given Sora normal size.
Feet. Yeah.
And also,
only in that one area. Though.
and also
They
made
that,
him look like
that clear in
Noctis,
interviews later.
as well as looking like the main character of Bouncer.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Now I can see the PS2 cover in my head. Thanks. Thanks.
Mhm.
I do have to go to sleep tonight without nightmares.
But yeah, in terms of the transparency with the 14 team, the way I discovered that wasn't actually through 14, it was through 15. If you can remember when Tabata used to do those style live letter things for the development of 15.
Yeah.
Because it was after 15 I actually ended up playing 14 and just like, right, this is where it comes from and I can see why it worked. But yeah, 15 was a mess. Especially if you read the book that came out. It's just like, all the content that they added in the book that would have finalized the story into a proper epic ending.
That was my big problem with 15 is that if you wanted to experience the full story, you had to branch out into all these different pieces of multimedia, the anime, the book. Was there a manga with it?
There was anime, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Kingsglaive.
Kingsglaive.
I thought it was actually pretty freaking cool.
Yeah, Kingsglaive.
I like
really
Kingsglaive.
cool.
But the fact that you had to go to all these different avenues to get a full coherent story really rubbed my feathers the wrong way.
And it's not even that coherent until you get the book at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be
Royal
honest.
Edition.
Kingsglaive leading into the game. Wait, your dad's alive all of a sudden. Wait, what? What is going on here? What is going on here?
Yeah,
It's a prequel.
it was what? Day one patch to add scenes from Kingsglaive into the main game?
Yeah.
Yeah. They had to.
Yeah.
I just think they were a bit overambitious with it, and from the fact that they clearly must have run over budget to like try and recoup what they've put into development. That's why it was kind of a bit of an incoherent mess. They released it kind of partial release, and then it was all DLC. It was anime, there was film, there was book, and that's kind of the only way they can get that full story. If all those medias, if the book, the shirt, the anime, and the game itself, just one game. It'd be a brilliant game.
Yeah, I remember
Wasn't it
reading
in
just the
development for like 10
Aranea
plus
story
years?
in that book, and it was just like, I can visualize this boss battle.
Yeah.
Why did we never get this?
Does that 10 years include the whole versus 13? Because they did scrap and kind of ditch.
Yeah, I mean that's when they announced it. That was its initial iteration, and
Yeah, 15 itself was
rehash,
what, 3 years
redo,
from
drop
scratch?
it, come in. I don't know from when they officially announced 15. I just know from when they announced 13 versus. It was just.
It was the same
Freaking
time
train wreck.
as Final Fantasy 13, and well,
they
what
announced them
we
together.
came to know as Type 0.
Nova Crystallis Fabuloso something.
Fabula Nova Crystallis.
Bacon cheeseburger.
Yeah, that was what, back in 2006, if I remember.
Something like that.
Yes, it was. I can still remember it because it was the first time. No, it wasn't. I think about 2000. Yeah, it was 2006, but it was in 2007. I got my first job, and my first pay, I bought a PS3 and Final Fantasy 13. So that was the first thing I picked up.
So you did that responsible thing with that first paycheck. All right. Good job. Good job.
Oh,
The first
yeah.
Final Fantasy I actually
Everyone here.
bought was 12.
Priorities.
12 was my first actual purchase out of my own money for a Final Fantasy.
The ultimate irony I just want to point out with that first paycheck that I had and spent it all on new television, PlayStation 3 at the time, is that I got that job, and then 4 weeks later, the recession hit, and they laid off all the new starters, myself included. So I was laid off from work before. I didn't save none of that
time
money.
to play 13 then.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, back on to 14. This is going back in all of our issues, but with just initial run with ball, most of the point that really made you go, holy crap, this game.
Oh.
I was going to shut such devastation. No, it was a scene before that.
For me, it probably had to be Bahamut Prime. Seeing that and experiencing that, and the cutscene between Phoenix and Bahamut, having a story cutscene after finishing a raid, like, my God, they can do whatever they want and put big story segments in raids. This is insane. And it was such a core piece of the story that tied, the 1.0 to 2.0 together, and to put that as a locked piece of content in the raid, just absolutely was mind blowing to me. But Bahamut, fighting him in the raid was just epic and really solidified for me. Yeah, I'm playing this for the long haul. Absolutely.
Yeah, mine's similar. Not so much the cutscenes themselves, although they're appreciated, but just the story sequence from the cap off of the original Realm Reborn MSQ, where you have the run through Praetorium and Castrum, like that whole sequence, the last few levels as you're closing into 50 and finishing the MSQ, that whole sequence was just like bam, 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 bam. Content, scene, content, scene, content with scenes in it. Content, scene, content, scene. And I just kept pushing on that one. And then the fact that when that was done, and we really only had Wanderer's Palace and Amdapor Keep to do at the time, to farm, the fact that I did not tire of those the way I had in other MMOs like World of Warcraft, and when you get to that point in the expansion while you're waiting for patches and content, where you're just in the daily grind, even though we only had 2 dungeons, I was still enjoying those dungeons a month down the road, a month and a half down the road, 2 months down the road. That's when I was like, okay, this is going to be a little different than the way I play WoW. I don't know if I'm actually going to take breaks from Final Fantasy XIV like I have other MMO.
I think for me, out of all the things it could be, it was Orenvale. Early Orenvale, tanks without tank stances, just the chaos. I was like, this is so chaotic. I fucking love this. It took forever to get... Yeah, I think we actually timed out the first time I ever went into Orenvale.
I think that says a little bit more about you than it does about the game.
Yeah, chuck chaos at me and I'm happy. But yeah, it was also doing that generation where your level grinding was either first room Darkhold or you was in Curva Central just doing fate grindings and doing the Svara fate for the first time, and it was just the old zone was populated like countries are now. I'm just like, oh, this is crazy.
Eye for an eye fate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the amount of people who died. It got to a point that Cyclops is up. Nope, thank you. I'll get a hit in while I'm in the party and I'm running away to something else.
Oh, and Behemoth would pop in that zone too? Just madness in that zone.
I remember first time seeing Odin, I was level 2. My friend was like, I want to see something cool. Yeah, just run through there. It's like, oh, that's Odin. Cleave. What about you, Ash?
Well, it's a bit of a tricky one for me because obviously you were trying to persuade me for a good while to join 14. So I was part of 1.0, but I think you lot were in our FC were kind of at end of like the post Dragon Song and like Heaven's Ward and kind of when Stormblood was coming out, and so I'd seen kind of the mechanic, and I thought the music was fantastic. But I think Realm Reborn, when I kind of downloaded the trial version, and I think it was just because I had seen the game and I was kind of almost sold at that point. I thought, I'll try the trial, but it was just the trailer, the answers, the video, the opening video of Realm Reborn, because obviously I played 1.0 and that's kind of like how they've killed off 1.0, kind of restart, and that video and the music as well, that was epic, and yeah, like you see, I had played MMOs before. I think because I did play RuneScape a bit when I was younger, but I couldn't get into. And same with 11, it was kind of one of those old school MMOs that if you're trying to play by yourself, because there was me and one other friend of mine played 11, but he stopped playing. It was just me then, and it's quite hard to play by yourself. And but yeah, I felt compelled to play the game because there was Paul was playing it, and then it was a few hours in the FC, and yeah, definitely the kind of the multiplayer of it, and just from the fact that you can go off and do single player content as well. And especially now with the 6.1 patch, they start now that allow you to run trusts for the Realm Reborn content, because there's certain things that I would like to do by myself. As Paul would probably know, I play Machinist, I'm DPS, and I am a terrible tank and a terrible healer, but I will try. And
so is Burn.
So I'd like to go through as a trust and try it out then. At least then I could know how to kind of hold my own and how certain mechanics work. So when it comes to actually run it with like our FC members or just if we do a random daily roulette, that I'm somewhat competent. So yeah, it was kind of a tricky one. I was kind of sold on 4 to begin with, so there wasn't really any point in Realm of, and I'm okay. I stick this for them.
Just so you're aware, Ash, you are cutting out a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
he's just really excited.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Since we're getting on time, I'll leave you gents with 2 more questions. What was your first job in 14?
Black Mage, done. Only because Red Mage wasn't available at the time. Any MMO, I generally start with a caster class of some type. And in Final Fantasy, my favorite job is Red Mage. That was my main in Final Fantasy XI the entire time for a decade or whatever that I played that game on a daily basis. Since it was not available, I used my sub job from Final Fantasy XI, the one I used the most, Black Mage, as my main. And then when Red Mage came in, Red Mage became my main. And now Black Mage is my main again right now, but it's always between Red Mage and Black Mage at any given point in time.
Nice. For me, it was simple. It was Dragoon. You know, all the great Dragoons we've had over the series, Kimari, Kane, Sid. It was just like, yeah, I'm going to stick with a stick. Yeah, and jump in the air and just go down. Back in early Realm Reborn, Rose of Thorns had like spear, dance pole sort of animation.
You say Kamari's a Dragoon, but he's more Blue Mage.
He's a Blue Dragoon.
Blue Dragoon.
He still has jumps, so he counts.
Okay.
Ash?
Dragoon for me as well. Yeah. However, the constant pressure not to play to the stereotype of being a floor tank pushed me. So I am now a Machinist. I thoroughly enjoy Machinist.
Well, they lowered the animation lock for you guys again, so hopefully you can stay upright.
Super speedy jumps. And
as it should be.
Yeah, might be a bit of a tough question to answer, but what is your biggest want? Whether it's content, side content, jobs, whatever.
Well, I'm going to answer the previous question real quick.
Oh, go on.
My first job.
Oh yeah, sorry, do apologize.
Screw Tark. I've always enjoyed being a role that's always in need, whether that's Enchanter in EverQuest, Priest in WoW, Cleric in Rift. So I wanted to be a healer, something that was in need. When I get those good cues and be requested for groups. So the first healer out of the box was White Mage. So that's where I started. And unfortunately, when Heaven's Ward came out, our Scholar, dropped out and left the game. And we had problems finding another Scholar. So I went Scholar, and then we found another White Mage. And then when Endwalker came out, Sage has been just absolutely freaking amazing. I love its kit. So good.
Yeah, it's a fun job. So,
All right.
yeah,
What's
on
your
to
next
your
question?
greatest want.
Greatest want.
Even
Better
if
dungeons.
it could never happen.
Better dungeons. I mean, it's that easy for me, and I've said it on Relic Grind many times. It's not that I don't enjoy the dungeons. It's not that I don't think the mechanics are fun. It's not that narratively they don't do a very good job with dungeons. But dungeons are stuck in this pull, boss, pull, boss, pull, boss pattern. And there's no creativity. There's no alternate pathing. There's no mystery to the dungeon. Like, what you're going to get. It's just, I can't wait to see the environment and some of the boss mechanics. Yeah. That's what you go in there looking for, not, I don't know what to expect. And when you compare that to some of the A Realm Reborn dungeons, it wasn't always like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember how hard and challenging Stone Vigil was the first time you did Stone Vigil? Like, there's no challenge to them. I love them as a content piece. I'm a huge PvE guy, but I've said it many times, and I'll keep saying it. As good as their dungeons are, I think it is the single biggest area of opportunity to improve that Final Fantasy XIV has on a PvE front.
Here's something for you for dungeons. We was running it for one of our newcomers in the FC the other day, and we was doing Darkhold. And after the second boss, and you got toads and everything, we went all the way down to make sure they marked off the map, and we found a cave with 2 chests inside. Of all the years playing it, I never knew that cave existed, and it was chests inside that cave.
Yeah.
It's like the one room in Sestasha, you just walk in, and it's a bar brawl, and you can just kill each other off.
Yeah.
It's just none of this exists anymore. And yeah, it would be nice to see, as much as the dungeons now are big, giant set pieces, they bigger in scope. Yeah, it's something that's sorely lacking.
We'll have to see what Criterion dungeons bring to us. We'll have to see.
Yeah. Yes, please.
I am hoping that they'll bring something new to the formula. Ash?
I had to think really hard because I don't have a really big, from the game. If I was going to suggest then something, it would be when you're on your mount to add in, what would you call it? To be able to interact with the environment. So if you're on a mountain, you just want to crash into something in the environment, and it would actually have that animation. Just little things like that would just it would probably add a little bit of humor a bit more humor to the game, I guess, as well. But when you get each new mount, obviously kind of 1-seater, 2-seater, whatever, the motion, the movement of the mount is all the same. It's like they just put a new skin on the exact same thing, and it's nothing special about it. Granted, you have certain animations for if you have the tank that you get from the dwarves, so you could fire the cannon type thing, and so if you had a bit more animation to many of the mounts, that if they could add that would.
Talk?
Nope, I think we totally lost Ash now.
Oh.
I think that'd be good at the end. I think that's what he's trying to say. I think you
was it just my mouth moving for 5 minutes?
No, just at the end. It's in.
Just at the tail end, yeah.
So
for me, no.
Okay.
Oh, you're good.
You're good. For me, my answer was going to be dungeons. Like Byrne said, they're the greatest opportunity. to really enhance the game for a PvE content. But since he took that, two little things I would personally like to see is maybe some premium minions come to the cash shop. Maybe, I'd like to spend $5-10, not $40 for some music, that I'm never gonna put in and listen to.
They're not gonna do that. Like, why would they do that? That would do nothing but piss people off.
I can see your mind going, Mike, when do not make me spend more money on my minions. These soundtracks are killing me as it is.
I would like to actually have, like, this might sound weird, but like an orchestrion jukebox for my mounts, or just out in the world.
Orchestration.
Yeah,
that
would be.
You could play the music from the car in Final Fantasy 15, kind of that thing, is as you ride around on your mount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hook a radio.
Yeah,
up to
as
that
fair as the reasoning is that it's like Soken's and his team has put all this music in. We want you to listen to it. Like, yeah, but when we've gone through the area a million times, just let us blast Answers or the Ultimate Fool theme, just as groove.
No, you would just play Longest Fall for any dungeon just to give you the motivation.
Yeah, just play the twinning and everything.
There you go.
Yeah, to be fair, the twinning is the Giles theme of Final Fantasy XIV. It does go with everything. For my personal want, would be a change up to how they handle expansion maps. I would love them to keep a map aside for further into the expansion. Maybe we only get 5 zones instead of 6 start, then...
Right.
Maybe like halfway through Endwalk right now, we get a first area of Mericidia or the New World or something, just to give us that extra tease. As cool as it is, like, we got the Southern Front and stuff like that, it just would feel nice to have a new zone to explore that's got Aetherites and new quests and new everything, that it just continues our exploration further down.
Yeah. Yeah, WoW did that with Shadowlands, yeah.
Good times.
I think we are over an hour 53 minutes in. Good stopping point. We went on plenty of tangents, talked a lot of games. So, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure to have you for this first episode. Thank you to Chat for...
Thank you for the invite. That was very kind of you.
Yeah, it's just like, new with 14, it's like, you boys love to talk about it. You're always good to hang out with over on Ready Check Radio, so let's chuck the invites out. Speaking of where to find you, where can they find you? Let's start with you, Mike, since you've got a busier schedule.
There's Ready Check Radio, RAIDEO. If you go to readycheckradio.com, all the socials are in the upper right. You can follow Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, all that stuff. Weekly podcast, The Relic Grind, focusing on Square Enix and Final Fantasy XIV. Gaming Gumbo, which is general weekly gaming wrap-up. And then a slew of streamers, including myself, doing a lot with Final Fantasy TCG and whatever new games are coming out. Tark and I kind of go back and forth on who's going to play the newest thing. So right now he's running Stranger of Paradise on Saturdays and Sundays. So check it out.
Talk.
You can follow me, Tarkoth Gaming, at Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, playing Final Fantasy XIV 5 days a week. Then over at Ready Check Radio on Saturdays. And again, like he said, Stranger of Paradise. Good times.
I think for me and Ash, you might find us here again for the next episode. Don't know what it'll be about just yet, but stay tuned.